Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Will the meeting of the Planning and Zoning Commission for Wednesday, November 15th, 2017, please come to order? I would like to open up the meeting by reciting the Pledge of Allegiance. If you like, please stand and join me. Face the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Okay. So for the benefit of those who may or not have participated in a Planning and Zoning Commission meeting, our procedures are as follows. 1, we will read the legal call to the meeting as published in local newspapers. The applicant will then be invited to come forward and present the case, explaining to the Commission and others present what is being requested of the property. Comments of town agencies will be read for each application if there are any. There will be clarifying questions from commissioners. Then there will be an opportunity for clarifying questions from the audience. First, those who wish to support the application may come forward, and second, those who oppose the application will be invited to come forward and express their opinions. As this is a public hearing, it must be recorded. It's necessary for speakers to identify themselves by stating their name and their address before addressing the Commission. The applicant is then free to leave or remain for the balance of the public hearing in the regular meeting, at which time the Commission will try to reach a decision based on the application. Each applicant will be notified in writing to the decision of the Commission and has a right to appeal Superior Court if desired. Decisions of this meeting are available the day after the meeting by calling the Planning and Zoning Office at 203-453-8039 after 9 a.m. Okay. Hey, Phil. Seated this evening are the following Planning and Zoning members. We have Phil Johnson, Rich Meyer, Alan Brown, Josh Hirschman, I'm Frank DeAndrea, Dick Wallace. Staff present tonight are Reggie Reed, George Kroll, and Lisa Piambino, and our videographer this evening is Peter Schultz. Will the Secretary please read the legal notice?
Notice is hereby given that the Guilford Planning and Zoning Commission will hold a public hearing on November 15, 2017 at 7:30 p.m. Location, the Nathaniel B. Green Community Center, 32 Church Street, Guilford, Connecticut, in the Monunketuck Room on the second floor for the following purposes. Town of Guilford, Falcon Road, Map 2, Zone, Sachem Head Association, repair seawall on Falcon Road, Section 273-91. Benton's Knoll, PRD, Unit 7, Benton's Knoll, Map 8, Lot 24, Zone R5, special permit to revise existing PRD to include the installation of an in-ground swimming pool, Section 273-19. Brian Weedy, Post Road Wood Products, 97 Vineyard Point Road, Map 9, Lot 1A, Zone R5. Special permit, accessory apartment in new 1,176 square foot accessory structure, Section 273-19. Copies of these applications are available for inspection in the office of the Planning and Zoning Commission, Town Hall South, 50 Boston Street, Guilford, Connecticut. At this hearing, persons may attend and be heard, and written communications will be received. Dated at Guilford, Connecticut, this 25th day of October 2017. Frank DeAndrea, Chairman.
Thank you. So a couple announcements. If anybody's here for Ocean Cove, 485 Whitfield Street, there's been a request to continue the public hearing, so we won't be hearing that this evening. So if you're here just for that and you don't want to stay, you don't have to. And also, I know there might be some people here for the Peddlers Park, the golf course. This is a receive and set a public hearing at the request of the applicant for 12/6. So that's what we'll be doing tonight. If we decide to do that, we won't really be discussing the actual application. So if you're here to have discussion on that, the request is for the December 6th meeting to actually be heard. So if anybody's here for that. Other than that, I believe our zoning enforcement officer would like to.
When you were reading the agenda, is there a take removal on there?
Yes. Yeah, that's on there.
Oh.
Did you want to, before?
Well, I was going to wait until after the meeting.
Okay, we'll do that. I
I
was listening to George,
Come
but okay.
on.
All right, I'll call you up after we're done. But before
Yeah,
we
I think
adjourn?
so. Yes.
Okay. So let's open it up. Where are we starting? Because I didn't hear this one. So we're starting with this one? Okay, so I need Christina and Gilbert. I don't want to butcher your name. You want to help me out? Oh, that's easy enough. Okay.
Mokel or Merkel, that's fine. Either way. So good evening. My wife and I, we are applying for a special permit.
Your name and address first.
Oh, sorry. So name is Christina and Gilbert Merkel, and that's at 260 Landon's Way in Guilford, Connecticut. So we are applying for a special permit to have 6 chickens and 2 horses on our property. And I think that is 2 chickens too many. I think the rules are 4 chickens on a 1.92 acre parcel, which is the size of our property, with a different type of animal. So that would be with horses. And so we have submitted an application for a special permit. We have submitted a description of our best practices, how we keep the horses, how we care for them, and same with the chickens, how they are housed, how they are kept and cared for on a daily basis. We also have submitted a drawing of our corral, the horse barn, and the chicken coop on the premises of the and the outlines of the property. We have complied with sending letters to all of our neighbors, and we are happy to answer any questions regarding the chickens and horses on our property. Go ahead.
Are your neighbors okay with it?
Pardon?
Are your neighbors okay with all of this? Like, have you
The
heard
ones
any?
that-
Okay, well, I guess we'll get to that in a
Is the
minute.
one-
We didn't get anything that I see in the record as of letters,
Got it.
so
So,
we'll get some public comment though.
having chickens myself, I would just say make sure you don't have any roosters.
We don't.
Okay. Well, so sometimes you think you don't, and they just show up. But it's the way when they show up like this big, it's hard to change the.
They're going to be all fenced in, right?
Yes. So we have a corral with an electric fence for the horses, and that was professionally installed. And we have a chicken coop that has a size, is allowed for 10 chicken with a little fenced-in run out adjacent to the chicken coop.
There's a letter that I'm going to read into the record. It's dated yesterday, and it's from the environmental planner, Kevin McGee. And it says, "The Guilford Agriculture Commission reviewed the application at its October 16th, 2017 non-quorum meeting and has set a site visit for Friday, November 17th, 2017 to view the operation. Keeping of 6 chickens and 2 horses for recreational use. The commission will be discussing the site visit along with the best management practices at its meeting on November 20th, 2017, and will be providing its recommendations to Planning and Zoning Commission December 6, 2017 meeting." So that's
Do you need a
good.
copy of that?
Yes, sure. That would be fine. Thank you.
So you have to come back for a second public hearing anyway, so we'll have those comments in time, which will be great to help us for our vote.
And the applicant proposed, this is a second letter. This one is from Dennis Johnson. He's the Director of Health here in Guilford. And it says that the applicant's proposed chicken coop and horse stall does not conflict with the location or operation of the existing well or septic system currently located on site. It is recommended that the applicant's proposed use be approved with the following conditions. Owner shall implement Department of Agricultural best practices for handling and control of manure waste from farm livestock and poultry facilities. You have no problem with that?
No.
Great. So this is a special permit because
Because it's more than.
it's more than
4 chickens.
4 chickens?
So
More
it's-
animals than you could have on a.
And that's the
property
standard, is a special permit?
Yes, the regulations,
Okay, well, that's,
Regulations say if somebody wants more animals than the regulations require,
Is-
they have to apply for a special.
Is the, are the regulations for the horses completely compliant, or is that in addition
The
to?
horses are fine.
Okay,
So just the 2
we're
extra
talking
chickens.
2 extra chickens, right? Okay.
and if they didn't
Just
have the 2
checking.
extra chickens, they wouldn't be before us at all?
Nope.
right.
So realistically, them having to comply with all these best practices
Thank you for coming here.
is,
Correct.
Yeah.
Well, a
And,
good
and
thing.
so the regulations further state that the Agriculture Commission will evaluate whether or not the site can support that many animals.
Anybody have any more questions from the commission?
I have one question.
Sure.
Did you say the lot was 1.9 acres?
It's, 1.96 acres.
So almost 2 acres?
Yeah.
And it's 6 chickens and 2 horses?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, I will see if there's any questions from the public at this time.
Questions or comments?
Questions or, well, questions first. Okay, and then we will do comments to support the application. Just remember, name and address for the record, please.
Lynn Kaminsky is 38 Barker Hill Drive, Guilford. We're diagonal neighbors to theirs. And I just think, the difference between 2 or 6 chickens and 4 chickens are very slight. And I know all the signs in Guilford say we're an agricultural community. And I would hope that, 2 chickens wouldn't make any difference. And just thinking, from what I know, there's so much wildlife there, mainly wild turkeys, that I don't think a few chickens would make any difference whatsoever, since there's about 30 turkeys going back and forth all day long.
That's a good
That
argument.
we have no control of. So I would hope that we would keep it as an agricultural community, since that's what the land was where they lived now prior to the houses.
So just to be clear, you're an adjacent neighbor and you're in support of this?
Yes.
Perfect. Any other comments? You guys good? So, someone want to make a motion?
To continue this to the 12/6 hearing.
Okay, and we'll get our comments.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Second? Second. Yeah, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Let's continue. What are we at? Town of Guilford, Falcon Road.
Good evening, everybody.
How you doing, sir?
Doing good. Good evening, my name is Jim Portley, I'm town engineer. I'm here to present an application for the repair to the seawall at Falcon Road. We had problems with it this past late spring. We had sinkholes occurring in the pavement behind the seawall. Because of environmental considerations and because of our workload, we pushed off doing any work to that seawall until summertime. We were restricted by DEP to do any testing on the beach area in front of the wall because we have had in the past a number of sinkholes occur in the past. We basically did kind of minor repairs that just kept the pavement open and kept the road opening. But we felt after and you'll see in the application, there's pictures showing the 3 big sinkholes that we had occurring behind the wall. We felt we had to do more than just make spot repairs. So we waited until August. We got a certificate of permission from DEP to do test holes on the beach in front of the wall to determine the bottom of the wall, see what the wall was built on. We was found to our amazement that the wall was built on what appears to be just the compacted mud or original base of the was basically an inlet. There must have been a road there years ago that had been used probably during when tides would allow, and had compacted the material, and they had built a road on top of it by bringing gravel and then eventually paving it, I think in the late 50s and early 60s. So we found there was really no foundation for that wall. We wanted to know what we had to do because we had 2 options. One was to try to repair the wall as it was, or go to the extent of driving sheet piling in front of it to really secure the base of the wall. The second option, which was to drive the sheet piling, would be a very costly operation, something we didn't have budget for. We would have had to go into another fiscal year and get the money to do that. What we found, we brought a test driller in. He did borings along the face of the wall to confirm that there was bedrock on both sides, but that there was nothing in between. again, confirming what we suspected when we did the test holes, that there was no foundation there, and below that, there was nothing. There was no rock or anything else. So at that point, we started to dig behind the wall. We dug down to the base of the wall. We found that the reason for the test holes, the reason for the sinkholes was the fact that tidal water was getting in and washing out the base of that wall. So we excavated behind the wall and then proceeded to develop a design. Talked to DEP. Normally, if we were doing work on the wall, the water side of the wall, it would have required a full DEP certificate of permission or a permit. They did advise us that if we were doing all the work from the wall on the roadside, that we wouldn't even need a permit, but it would probably be good advisable to let them know we were doing the work. So we weighed our options. We knew we had to do something because we had to open that road. We closed that road sometime in, I think it was June, and it was closed for 3 or 4 months. And people had we had an awful lot of complaints. People having to drive around. We did create a driveway along the north side of the road that allowed people from Sachem's Head to get down to the tennis court, but we wouldn't allow vehicles on that road because we didn't want to have any real issues occur. So at that point, when DEP said, "Listen, you can repair the wall from the street side or the road side of the, as long as you don't do any work in the on the water side." We felt for public safety we had to do something, and we then decided to go ahead and do repairs to the wall. Eventually, though, we would like to go further than what we've done to date. We've gone as far as repairing the wall in place, all work being done on the roadside. But eventually, and we've talked to the Sachem's Head authority, the commission. They've allowed us eventually to put large rock surge stone in front of that wall to de-energize some of the waves that come in and really impact that wall. The wall is a VE zone. The waves come in off Long Island Sound. Over the years, we've had to recap it after Irene and Sandy, and it goes back. We've had a lot of damage to that wall, but we go back and fix it. But we've never had these sinkhole problems until just recently. So we decided that the long-range solution is not only to fix the hole that was in the wall caused by these sinkholes, but also eventually try to put large stone in front of the wall, in essence, to de-energize the wave action that comes in and pounds that wall. That will require a full permit from the DEP because we will have to work on the water side of the wall, which, we will need not only permission from DEP, but we would also need additional resources. We don't have the money for that right now. So our application to the Planning and Zoning Commission is to permit the repairs that we've done, but eventually also to allow us to do repairs along or place large stone along the face of the wall in the beach area. Now, that beach area, we went to the Sachem's Head Association to get permission, but technically it's not their beach. It's below the CJL, and the high water mark for Long Island Sound. So even though it's a beach they enjoy, it's a beach that technically they do not own because it's under the high water mark. But, as a matter of being good neighbors, we did go to them and talk to them, and they've agreed, at least for a section, to allow us to put those stones, and that's what we would like to do. It's a fairly complicated process to go through to look at what we can do with that wall long term. My hope is that we can gain the funds to protect it with big stone, build a revetment along the face, and eventually, let it stabilize. It's been there a long time. There has been a lot of repairs over the years, and they keep occurring. My concern is that with the annual elevation of the high water, of the high tides, we don't know what's going to occur. But, what I can try to do is protect it against wave action. The higher the tide, the more of an impact wave action will have on that wall. So I hope it's not my ranting on isn't too much for you to absorb at one time. But it is a fairly difficult problem to resolve. We scratched our head a lot. Had no idea going until August when we tried to test the wall and test the foundation, what we were really dealing with. In the past, we had dug holes behind the wall to find out how it actually was constructed without undermining the wall. We found a different situation than we first thought, and when we finally did do the borings in front, we were just surprised at what we had to do to try to stabilize it right now. So in that 10-foot section that we've done, we've poured concrete down to the bottom or base of the wall, underneath the wall, actually, underneath the stones. So we've sealed the back of the wall from intrusion of tidal waters. And with that, we hope to have stabilized that, not only the base, but also the roadway, because that tide water that was coming in and out was drawing the base of the roadway, the pavement base away from the pavement, leaving us with basically voids under the pavement. So that's in a nutshell. I know it's a long and complicated discussion, but it's or description, but it's something we had to do. We felt that we had to get it done in September, where we're still kind of subject to the hurricane season. We wanted to get it done before the winter, so we went ahead with it with the expectation, again, with the agreement from DEP, if we didn't go beyond the face of the wall, we wouldn't need their permission. We could just go ahead and do it as a matter of public safety. So that's it. Thank you.
There's a letter here from Kevin McGee.
Yeah.
Did you talk to Kevin about?
Yeah.
Okay, but I'm going to read it into the record anyway.
No, I'm familiar with it. He's right. If we go out, we do work out in front, we're going to have to take the material out of.
Into the record.
Okay.
All right. It's dated October 14th,
He loves to read.
2017, and it says, the Town of Guilford Engineering Department is proposing to repair a damaged portion of the seawall and damaged road bed due to undermining from wave activity from Long Island Sound. This section of the Falcon Road is located in a FEMA wave action zone VE elevation 13 feet. As part of the work, they propose to add surge stone rip wrap and large boulders on the beach against the retaining wall to protect the wall from future wave action. The repair and reinforcement of the retaining wall is consistent with CTDEP policies for erosion control structures, since the retaining wall protects public infrastructure. The proposed repointing of the wall, along with the addition of the stone riprap and boulders on the beach located between the mean high water line and coastal jurisdiction line elevation 40 NAVD 88 is in area of combined jurisdiction with Connecticut Department of Energy and Environmental Protection. Any work conducted below the coastal jurisdiction line also requires a permit from Connecticut Department of Energy and Environmental Protection, CTDEP. In order to make sure the coastal resources are protected during the construction process, I recommend the following conditions of approval. First, since the proposed work is located in a FEMA flood zone, all unsuitable material removed shall be trucked off-site. No stockpiling of material shall be allowed. And second, the Planning and Zoning Commission approval should note no work can be conducted below the coastal jurisdiction line, elevation 40 NAVD 88, until permit has been approved by CTDEP. There's one other letter in here from CTDEP. I know Richard loves to read these ones into the record.
I love Carol.
Yeah, so
Carol's
go ahead and read that.
Carol Szymanski. Planning and Zoning Commission, coastal site plan review to allow road repair behind seawall Falcon Road, also repointing of seawall by hand, and placement of surge stone riprap and boulders below this coastal jurisdiction line. All of that beach is below the CJL?
Excuse me?
All of that beaches?
Yes.
So everyone can go use that. That's
I'm
that's
not
the
making,
law.
I'm not telling you.
Everyone listening? Thank you, thank you for referring this coastal site plan review request received October 13th. For us to review and comment, project description, the town is requesting approval to repair the road behind the seawall on Falcon Road near Sachem's Head Association Tennis Courts. The road behind the seawall is out of the coastal jurisdiction line. No permit is necessary from the office for this portion of the work, which is landward of the CJL. Coastal resources present on or near the site include coastal hazard area and shorelands. State permit required, CJL is elevation 4.0. The proposed work waterward of this elevation requires a structures, dredging, and fill permit from the DEEP. The work includes repointing the wall, the seawall by hand, replacement of search stone, riprap, boulders in front. Town has applied for all wall repairs with the submittal of the COP 201708786. In conclusion, we hope that these comments are helpful to the Commission. Pursuant to CGS Section 22A110, we request that these comments be read into the record of the public hearing for this application. If we can be of further assistance to you in this or any other coastal management or Long Island Sound related matter, please feel free to contact me directly. Carol Szymanski, Environmental Analyst 2. Good work.
So doesn't Sachem's Head Association have their own zoning code? And why are we participating in this? Why do they need our approval?
Are we spending town resources on this?
Well, I'm serious, right?
Yeah, no, it's a good question.
Do we even have jurisdiction to approve or deny this?
We do coastal site plan reviews
Yeah.
within the Sachem said jurisdiction. Yeah.
But this isn't in the CJL. This work is in the.
No, it's within the boundaries of the Sachem Head
Yeah,
Association.
Sachem's Head Association has their own code, zoning.
Right.
And I'm assuming they have their own zoning board where they have.
Maybe they they have to
Did you
approve
have
it
to go
too.
before them as well?
So, quick question. We have a,
Why are you asking these difficult questions? We can't answer. I don't know.
I mean, this before, we
It
can't
can't
confirm it,
hurt
so-
if we approve it, let's put it that
we
way.
have a plan of coastal resilience, which
Did they?
some parts talks about potentially retreating from some areas, and how would you correlate this to the plan?
This, to me, it has nothing to do with the plan. This is a matter of public safety. We're repairing a seawall that protects a public facility, which is our roadway. Our citizens of the town, all citizens travel that road. The repairs have been made. This is traditionally what has been done. We've repaired this wall, as I said, after Irene, after Sandy, after any number of storms over the years. So whether you have a resiliency plan or not, we still have a roadway there that we have to maintain.
So you could say that about every road in town, potentially that might be impacted after a storm.
I would.
Okay. That doesn't correlate to the plan of coastal resiliency,
Well,
but.
the coastal resilience doesn't say that we should abandon every road that.
No, I'm just saying it does talk about
It says we
retreating
should
though.
consider.
But also, part of that plan is using the type of material, certain types of material to make sure that it's consistent with protecting erosion. And so I thought that we were talking about getting away from like hard, impervious surfaces because that would,
Well, this is going to be hard and burn
Yeah.
the surface.
yeah.
I think what Phil suggests saying is that coastal resilience sort of as a concept suggests we look at opportunities to retreat from the coastal area with investments if we can. But in this case, if were we to do that, it would mean that this section of road would be abandoned and there wouldn't be the possibility of vehicular travel through there, and that creates a public safety hardship, and it's not something that the Sachem Head residents would likely support.
No, that's not my question.
No, that was Phil's
Yeah, that's
question.
Phil's.
No, not really, but.
Your question is.
My question is this the best, are these the best practices for sort of a coastal resilience plan in terms of maintaining, in terms of like, improving this roadway? Is there something better that can be done? Or no? I mean,
No, not from a coastal resiliency point of I don't believe so. I did talk to you about the idea of building getting in and putting a sheet piling wall in front of this wall that may give you certainly more protection. But those are great resources, and you would lose probably some beach area that is enjoyed by the citizens, and that would be subject to open debate.
To answer your first question, perhaps the reason this is subject to Guilford's coastal management practice is that the road itself is a town road. So that could be what triggers the requirement that Guilford Planning and Zoning review the coastal site plan application. If this were private property in Sachem's Head, we would not be doing it.
So you don't need anything from the Army Corps of Engineers on this either? And then my other question was, it looked like a free pour of concrete. Was there any rebar that was reinforced in this?
No, because there was nothing to tie it into. We would usually use rebar if there was something to tie it in to create a reinforced mass, but what we really were trying to do is provide the height of the concrete so we would stabilize the water main that's just north of, you don't see it in the picture, it is on the plan. There's a water main there that we want to make sure that we're providing stabilization under the pavement for.
Anything else?
Yeah, I don't have any other questions.
Familiar with what you did after Irene and Sandy.
We got any questions from the public? Please come up and use the mic only because it picks up in your name and address, please.
Hi, my name is Barbara Fisher. I'm at 102 Colonial Road in Guilford. Just to point out that if we abandon that road during the high wind storm that we had recently, both of the access roads to and from Sachem's Head Colonial Road, just north or just south of my home at 102, and Old Sachem's Head Road at the top of the hill, just past the first house, were both blocked by large trees. If there had been a medical emergency, this road going by Falcon was the only one that was open, even though it was, saltwater inundated during the storm period. But I'm very thankful that the town got it finished in time so that it could be opened. There are elderly people that live down there, and if there were a medical emergency, we'd be able to get to them. So that was very helpful, and I do thank the town.
So this is an after the fact anyway, right?
I have no idea.
So is this an after the fact, or?
No, it hasn't been done.
But it's been
The
passed.
repair is not subject to the coastal site plan review. It's
Right.
this new project that also requires the DEP permit.
And the hand pointing of the.
Right, and that work
Okay.
can't proceed until you grant the coastal site plan application and the DEP approves the work.
Right. And we are in the process of making an application for the revetment part, yes.
Okay. Please.
Thank you. My name is Tracy Kammerer. I live on 216 Nortontown Road. I'm here representing my mother, Jane Kammerer, an abutting owner in Sachem's Head who received a letter from the engineering department about the application and this hearing. I'm also someone who has used and enjoyed the beach in that area as a resident and guest over a time span of more than 50 years. I'd like to be heard in opposition to the plan as presented. For those who are not totally familiar with this area, the beach known as Bloody Cove Beach is a small sandy pocket beach with a southern exposure. It's just long enough for small children running on the shore to get up to full speed. In recent years, at mid-tide, the beach becomes a narrow strip of sand, and at true high tide, it's now mostly covered by water. The sand in the western corner of the beach is finer and more ground by wave action, whereas broken seashells predominate on the eastern side. Children for decades have enjoyed climbing from the sand to the rocky ledges along the mean high water line to the west, which is in this area where the town proposes to put riprap. Small as it may be, this is an ideal location for swimming, for beach exploration, for enjoying the junction between the natural ledges and the sand. It's also a place where I have observed wildlife such as horseshoe crabs, shorebirds, and other marine wildlife. The environmental policies of the state specifically call for the preservation of the integrity of beach systems, both to provide critical wildlife habitats and valuable recreational opportunities. At present, after the work done by the town, the roadway has been repaired. It's fully passable. There's now a poured concrete structure that I guess is behind the wall all the way down to the base of the wall. So the area has essentially been restored to the condition that it had been in for, judging from photographs I've seen, at least 75 or 80 years. Though the wall is now certainly much more strong, having been reinforced from the landward side. At various times over the years, sections of the wall, both in this area and elsewhere along the full length of the wall, have been damaged by storms, but in each case they've been repaired without resort to the use of riprap on the beach. To the east of the beach along Falcon Road, on similarly southward-facing property, riprap was placed more than 60 years ago. However, during Tropical Storm Irene, the riprap boulders shifted, with some tumbling farther into the natural area below. Despite the use of riprap, the road was undermined and extensive repairs were nonetheless needed. The riprap that was used to repair in 2011 on that property consists of rounded boulders which are unstable, prone to shifting, and potentially dangerous to those attempting to reach the shore. The application by the engineering department, though well-intentioned, does not adequately assess the impacts of the proposed placement of riprap on the use of the beach for recreational purposes or the preservation of the natural shoreline. The application does not describe methods to mitigate impacts or feasibly less environmentally damaging alternatives, such as further reinforcement of the road from behind the seawall, the use of a surge stone or smaller structure without riprap and or boulders, the use of a particular type and shape of material to minimize intrusion on the sandy beach and or reduce future shifting of the material, nor does it provide any analysis of any additional ways to support the wall, such as possible below-grade reinforcement or tying up together of the wall components. I wouldn't really know what would be possible, but in any case, while the plan describes placement of riprap in front of the seawall, the drawing that accompanies the application shows an extensive riprap wall extending out around exposed natural ledge, some distance from the wall and road on the shore side. I don't know if you have seen that diagram, but it has a blue area which shows the proposed.
The inside ledge of the surge stone, I believe it's 5 feet to the end of the riprap.
Correct.
Is that what you were?
No, I'm referring to the length of this riprap because it's going over I don't know what the distances are. It's hard to tell from that plan, but it continues and then it takes a little turn and heads out.
We were talking about the length, not the width, and coming onto the beach. You're speaking about the actual length going this way.
I'm talking about the,
Okay.
yes, and it comes along and then it turns and heads towards the water.
Yeah.
And across ledge that is natural ledge. All of this is some distance from the seawall at this point, where there's a proposal to put this riprap. Continuing the siting of the material does not appear to be consistent with the goals and policies of coastal management set forth in General Statute Section 22A 92, and would degrade the resource of the beach. It would further narrow the beach area and block and destroy the intersection of the sand and the natural ledge in this area to the west that I'm talking about, where the proposed riprap structure turns towards the water. It has not been shown by the town that the placement of artificial material on the beach is necessary and unavoidable, or that there are no feasible, less damaging alternatives. And most certainly, it has not been shown that all techniques to mitigate the damage to the beach have been considered. So I would urge the commission to deny the application as presented, or to place meaningful conditions limiting the impacts on the beach and the adjacent shore. Thank you.
Thank you. Do you want to
Do you have any
respond anything to that?
comments?
There's good points that were raised there. When we looked at this problem, we looked at it as stopping the constant repairs that you mentioned, that after Irene, and there's been storm after storm, that we've had to make repairs to that wall. This is something, what we've seen occur recently in the last 3 years, of the occurrence of these sinkholes that are occurring behind the wall. Traditionally, we had just seen storms overtopping the wall. We've had to repoint the top of the wall. We've had to repoint the face of the wall. Looking at that wall and looking at the wall and the roadway that goes out to Vineyard Point, we looked at that roadway that we do not experience the same kind of problems with. If you go down there and look at Vineyard, it's a road that goes from Vineyard Point Road out to the area where all the houses are. We don't have those kinds of problems, and the reason I believe is we don't have them is that there's a revetment all along the face of that wall. Large stones that were placed there that were intended to de-energize the flow or the impact of the wave action on the wall. We had some repointing of that we had to do after Irene, but it was insignificant compared to reconstructing the wall. There are other ways. There are other methods. As I discussed in my initial presentation, we could look into driving a sheet pile wall in front of the existing wall that would stabilize. It would take away from the beach by several feet. It would look, if we drove a sheet pile wall, we'd have to pour a concrete cap on it. We couldn't expose the people who use the beach to that. It would be a very costly solution, and I just don't see that, especially in the issue that, and I'm sorry, I forgot, Ellen, what's your name? Tracy. When you bring a sheet pile wall up to where you have exposed bedrock, you have to dig down and you have to pour concrete wall to join where the sheet piles will end and some kind of retaining wall is built on the bedrock. That, first of all, I think is unsightly. Second of all, I think it takes the same position that Tracy was talking about. It diminishes that connection between the beach and the exposed bedrock that's on the westerly side of the beach. We could study all kinds of things. What we wanted really to do is come up with a straightforward solution to something we see within a quarter mile, something that has worked for protection of Vineyard Point Road. We find that by placing, and that's why we limit it to 5 feet from the face of the wall. That beach, at high tide, is unusable. Tracy's right. The water's right up against the face of the wall. It's probably a beach that can be used from half tide part of the day, maybe 3 to 4 hours a day. Low tide, you can go out there, I'm sure, but I think it's muddy out there at low tide. By putting the riprap from the face of the wall out 5 feet, we believe, and this is, I think, good engineering science. We tried to protect the face of the world, but more than that, protect the foundation of the wall from scour and from undermining from the wave action occurring. And by doing that, by placing that large rock, and it's not just one size rock. We will put larger rocks on the outside, a medium-sized rock, and then a smaller rock to kind of knit it all together so it will be more of a stable structure to stay in place through the wave action that we would have, the wall's going to be exposed to. It's a constant problem down there. There's no one perfect solution to this. I think to a large extent, it's going to be a situation where we're going to have with real severe storms. We're still going to have to recap the wall. It's just a wall placed in a place that's very much subject to very harsh conditions, and there's nothing more daunting than trying to provide structure against the force of nature that comes off the Long Island Sound when those wave actions is action.
You have good engineering science behind you, but when you spoke with Kevin, did he have any other proposals as to alternative solutions?
No.
Okay, and what, I know he gave us a letter that sort of just generally said that it's okay. Did he have any other concerns about the impact on the environment?
No, there are no species, there's no vegetation that has to be considered. There's basically just a sandstone environment.
Is Surstone already in?
No, we need and we'll go through that full review with DEP. What we've done right now is just kind of stabilize the wall and repair the pavement so that we can provide access for the folks who live down there. And it's an alternate means of, as Barbara talked about, another way of providing access to egress from the area.
And this is properly before us, right?
Pardon me?
This is properly before us. Okay.
Not going to get around.
That's neither a yes nor a no.
Well, so I'm not, you mean, should the HMSET Association also have some jurisdiction here, or do they?
Do they, should they?
I don't know the answer to that question. Has the HMSET Association been made aware of this plan?
I've talked to the president, and I've talked to him about gaining, and as a courtesy, asked for permission to put the rock on the beach. And they said, okay.
Well, HMSET said okay.
And they understand what they have there.
Yeah.
Is there any more questions at this time from the audience?
I'd just like to follow up one question, which is to clarify. I think you did say, though, that the repair that's been done to this point in time now is much more extensive than previous repairs. And
Yes.
that put this 6 to 10 feet of concrete all the way down to the base of the wall.
Base of the wall, yeah.
Is there any reason to think that that might hold a lot better than what was done in the past?
Absolutely,
Way stronger than before, so that it might not be necessary to go farther?
Well, that's only, but unfortunately, Tracy, that's only a section of 10 to 15 feet. The wall is a lot longer than that. We got a couple hundred feet of wall. In that one area, yes, I think we've sealed off the water that was coming underneath the wall and causing the undermining of the pavement. That's not to say that couldn't occur in other sections. But,
That's the section that's the subject of this.
yes, well, but our application is for more than just this one section. It's for put the stone from the exposed bedrock that's on the west side to basically the entrance into the parking lot across the street. That one side, stretch that there, because that appears to be the area where the wave action has the most impact on this wall. We're not talking about, and you're very familiar with the area, we're not talking about, across the street is the tennis courts and the entrance into the parking lot. We're only showing the revetment from the exposed rock on the west side to the entry into the tennis court parking lot. Beyond that, we're not proposing anything at this point in time.
But that's probably about a third of the length of the.
It's a third, maybe maybe 20%, something like that. It is. It's not all the way, though.
Well, from,
Are there
you guys
any-
got any more questions here?
I'm good. Check that checklist, too.
Everything off the checklist, so, all right, somebody,
I'll move to close the public hearing.
all in favor? Aye. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right, can we move on to Benton's Knoll, Unit 7?
Good evening. Is it okay if we just set this up here for you folks, or do you want to set up the easel?
I think for the camera, he's got to get that on, so, if you don't mind.
I'll see if I can figure your easel out.
I'll put him on the spot. A lot of people watch us at home, they like to see.
No, I just.
And then kind of turn it a little bit so we can see it too.
This is being ridiculous.
I know. I gotta stop, right? Perfect, you did that. Perfect. It's okay, we're not worried about the lopsidedness.
Okay, good evening. My name is Russ Smith, and I'm the developer and builder at Benton's Knoll. My offices are located at 90 Halls Road in Old Lyme, Connecticut. We are here tonight requesting a modification to our PRD, which was done 6-7 years ago, for the placement of an in-ground swimming pool to Unit 7. This unit is under contract, and the clients desire an in-ground pool and the surrounding patio areas that are shown on the plans. We have worked on this design for the house as well as the patio area with our project architect, Tony Terry, who has worked with us since the inception of the project itself. This is our third request for a pool in Benton's Knoll, and the two previous requests were granted. Unit 7 is located at the north end of the Benton's Knoll cul-de-sac, and the pool and patio areas will be designed and installed to allow the surface water to shed to the south and to the west, which will minimize the runoff that will be going towards the detention basin as well as towards the small pocket of wetlands that's down on Old Sachem's Head Road. In actuality, the detention basin separates this project, the activity on this project, from the wetlands area itself. We have, as previously requested from town staff for the other pools, put into our design an infiltrator system to be able to receive backwash water if it's necessary. This will be a saltwater swimming pool as well, which does not have the same impact that a chemical pool would have at the same time. The previous two pools were approved and installed, and they went very well, and there's been no negative impact from those pools. On our site plan, the engineer neglected to show some erosion and sedimentation control measures, but we fully intend to install and maintain those and have them inspected, which is typical by the town staff prior to any additional activity on the lots, the initial steps of the development of the property. And we're willing to modify that site plan to show those erosion control measures and submit them to the town staff for review, comments, and approvals as needed prior to the issuance of a building permit. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
There are a couple letters in here,
Okay.
and I'm going to read in. There's actually two from Kevin.
November 15th.
Is the good one, and so ignore the
Correct.
November, okay, so there's one that he wrote today, and it says, "The applicant is looking to revise the plan, residential development site plan, to allow a swimming pool to be installed behind Unit 7. The site plan does not show any erosion and sedimentation control measures. The Connecticut Department of Energy and Environmental Protection, CTDEP, regulates the discharge of pool water and requires pool contractors to be registered under the general permit for the discharge of swimming pool wastewater. The general permit provides standards that the contractors must follow while working on pools, which include limits on chemicals being discharged and the requirement to discharge to subsurface disposal system. To prevent harm to the gradient wetlands, I recommend the following conditions of approval. First, the Town of Guilford zoning enforcement officer should be notified to inspect the sedimentation and erosion control measures prior to site construction. Erosion and sedimentation control measures shall be installed around the perimeter of the work area. Soil stockpiles shall be contained by silt fencing and/or hay bales. Soil erosion and sedimentation control measures shall be maintained until vegetation is established or suitable material is installed to the satisfaction of the zoning enforcement officer. 2, all discharges from the swimming pool be conducted in accordance to the latest version of the CTDEP general permit for discharge of swimming pools wastewaters. And you don't have a problem with any of those conditions?
No, I believe those were all the same conditions that were placed on the other pools as well.
Go ahead, read it. I got one from Dennis Johnson, Director of Health, that's dated today. The applicant's proposed in-ground swimming pool will not conflict with the location or operation of the septic system currently existing on site.
Do you need copies of either of those letters?
I have, I guess I have 2 copies now. Thank you.
Okay.
I was going to say there's something very similar to what we
Yes, very similar. So again, I'm happy to answer any questions.
How does this pool compare to the other pools that we've approved?
It's actually a little bit,
Size and volume?
it's smaller than one, same, very similar in size to the other.
Is it a lap pool or?
No, it's a 16 by 32-foot pool, from memory. It's a fun and games type of pool. It doesn't have a diving board to it or anything of that nature as proposed. So I think the maximum depth that's proposed from the pool designer at this point is around 5 feet, if I remember correctly.
Question?
Well, there must be some questions.
Hold on. Almost there. Anybody from the audience like to ask a question at this time? Anybody like to speak in favor? Anybody like to speak against? Want to do that?
Move to close the public hearing and continue to December.
Yeah,
Yes, not close it, but we'll.
Continue to December 6th.
second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. What was the date of the next hearing?
December
12/6.
12/6?
Yep.
Thanks.
Appreciate it. Got it.
Mandatory second.
Yeah, you might as well. Thank you very much. Tank Works Removal and Replacement LLC. Good evening.
Hello. My name is Rose Rainville from Tankworks, 360 East Center Street, Manchester, Connecticut. And I'm here regarding the removal of a 550-gallon tank from 71 Waterside Drive. The tank is approximately 100 feet from the water and about 75 feet from the sand. We don't anticipate any erosion concerns. The hole itself will be approximately 5 by 8 feet, maybe 4 feet deep, so it's pretty small.
Okay. There's a letter here from Kevin McGee, our environmental planner. Did you happen to see that letter?
I did not.
Okay, I'm going to read it into the record right now, and someone is giving you a copy. The applicant is proposing to remove a 550-gallon underground heating oil tank located in front of the house. The removal of the tanks has a low impact on adjacent coastal resources due to the small area being disturbed and its distance to the coastal resource. In order to make sure that the coastal resources are protected during the construction process, I recommend the following conditions of approval. First, as part of the tank removal, the disturbed area should be covered with hay or wood chips until permanent ground cover can be installed. The Town of Guilford zoning enforcement officer should be notified to inspect the sedimentation and erosion control measures once the work has been completed. Second, if contaminated soil is to be removed, sedimentation and erosion control measures shall be installed around the work site. The Town of Guilford zoning enforcement officer should be notified to inspect the sedimentation and erosion control measures prior to any site work. Soil stockpiles should be contained by silt fencing and/or hay bales and be covered by 6 millimeter plastic tarp. 6 mil? Just a brand?
Yeah,
Well, that's okay, we don't stockpile.
Great. Soil erosion and sedimentation control measures shall be maintained until vegetation is established or suitable material is installed to the satisfaction of the zoning enforcement officer. Do you have a problem with any of those?
No.
Great.
Got one here from DEP. Carol Szymanski. This is to Kevin McGee, dated September 25th, 2017. coastal site plan review for removal of underground tank 71 Waterside Drive, Tankworks Removal and Replacement LLC. Dear Commissioners, thank you for referring the coastal site plan review request received September 20th, 2017 for us to review and comment. Project description: the applicant proposes to remove an underground tank on property approximately 100 feet from coastal waters. If soil is stockpiled on the site for any period of time, it should be ringed by silk fencing. Coastal resources present on the site include coastal waters. Conclusion is that we hope these comments are helpful to the Commission pursuant to Connecticut General Statutes, Sections 22A-110. We request that your comments be read into the record at a public hearing for this application. If we can be of further assistance to you in this coastal management of Long Island Sound-related matter, please feel free to contact me at 860-424-3138. Signed, Carol Szymanski, Environmental Analyst, Office of Long Island Sound Programs, Bureau of Water Protection and Land Use.
Thanks, Carol.
We don't anticipate any stockpiling whatsoever.
Okay.
So it's removed, period.
Any questions from you guys? Have any questions from the public? Does anybody want to speak in favor or against?
I'll move to close the public hearing.
Second.
All in favor? All right, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Brian Weedy, Post Road Wood Products.
Hi, my name is Brian Weedy from Post Road Wood Products, representing 97 Vineyard Point Road. We're looking at putting a accessory building, 1,176 square feet, on a 26-acre property. You can see that it, with the house existing at 4842, we fall well within the 35%, and we're actually less than that. We're less than the 1,200. So we meet the 3 parking spaces, and it's going to be owner occupied. So, any questions?
Did you see the letter from Dennis Johnson dated today?
I didn't see the letter, but
You
heard from-
understand about the septic issue?
Yep.
Okay, I'm going to read this letter into the record. The applicant's proposed accessory structure will require construction of a new septic system to accommodate the wastewater flow from the one-bedroom apartment based upon previous soil tests results. Adequate area exists on-site for the additional septic system to serve the apartment. It is recommended that the applicant's proposed use be permitted with the following condition. First and only, a septic system be installed to service the applicant's apartment prior to final approval and occupancy by the building official. Well, do you have a problem with that?
No.
Do we control, do we control that?
Not really.
So you just wouldn't be able to get the building,
The CO.
the CO until you do that?
Right.
Okay.
Aren't applications usually made in the name of the applicant?
This is the name of the applicant.
Sorry. It's yours?
I'm the applicant for the owner.
Okay.
Susan Fisher is the owner.
Sorry, just checking.
It's okay.
Yeah, that's everything's all checked
Yeah.
off. Yeah, the application's all checks. Any other questions?
I'm good.
Everybody's good? Somebody in the audience like to ask a question? Comment for or against?
Move to continue.
Second.
All in favor? Thank you.
Okay, thanks.
All right, we got Ocean Cove. What's that?
12-6 for Mr. Weedy.
Yeah, the second public hearing you heard is 12-6, right?
Correct.
Okay.
I'll move to continue the Ocean Co. matter to 12/6.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion to approve revised agenda.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, deliberation of public hearing, we have Town of Guilford, right?
Alan's going.
Go to the Planning and Zoning Commission approval of municipal coastal site plan application in the Town of Guilford for seawall repairs on Falcon Road. map 2, Sachem Head Association, as shown on the application date October 4th, 2017, prepared by the Town Engineer Department. The application is approved with the following conditions. The application is approved based upon the finding that it conforms with the zoning and it consists of coastal management policies in the state. Since the proposed work is located in a FEMA flood zone, all unsuitable materials will be removed by truck off the site. No stockpiling of materials shall be allowed. The Planning and Zoning Commission approves. Approval should be noted. No work can be conducted below the coastal judicial line, level 4, NAVD 88, until the permit has been approved by the Connecticut DEP.
I'll second.
Okay, so for discussion on this, we had the engineer look at it. He talked about different methods. This one, although not necessarily ideal for everyone, he explained the other alternatives, so they have been explored. So I don't think it was just something that was taken lightly. I don't know the perfect answer to this.
There was another resident from the area who didn't seem to be, and she might have different interests, as upset about losing the beach, and she was more concerned about the road access. I don't know why, as a town, we don't have like best practices for these bridges and these roads in these areas to make sure that we're consistent sort of with the coastal resilience plan in terms of how to repair these, because I'm sure that, we went to that seminar, or we had some seminar or something at one point where they talked about, how to handle these situations, like these bridges and these roads, and I don't think that this is in compliance with that. I don't know what the answer is, but I do know that there's obviously a problem with this road, and this is the only information.
This conflicts with our plan of.
Yeah, definitely.
It does, and, certainly I don't have an engineering background, but it seems to me that there is room to move the road further away from the beach area. I know there's tennis courts there, the parking area for tennis courts, and there's other property. The road could be moved. I'm not convinced that this is the best solution. This is probably the easiest and cheapest. I don't know it's in the best interest of the town or the local residents. I can't sustain this. I will abstain from voting because I don't believe everything's been explored.
Well, I don't know if it's in the best interest for the environment, but I sort of feel that safety of the community is important, and I think that having, especially to the individuals out there, taking 4 or 5 years to figure out, how to handle the situation might be too long. But I think that we should constantly be working on a solution for these roadways.
So what do you see as the solution when this happens again 5 years from now?
Well, hopefully by then we'll have a game plan for these proposals, because.
Well, we think it might happen 5 years from now if nothing's done and they leave it as is. But according to the engineer, by putting in the riprap and the surge stone and the larger boulders, doing away with the velocity of the waves, isn't this one of the main things that's going to stop it, right?
There are some offshore devices that they can put out in the water to delete the velocity of the water. In wetlands, we were discussing these large bags filled with sand that you put 30 feet out in the water, and it gets rid of all the velocity, all the force of the wave. I don't know what the solution is, not my background, but I don't believe they've explored it. And certainly, you can feel that they have, and you can vote yes, but I can't vote for this.
There's definitely a balancing act between the public's desire to have that through road, and there are multiple ways to get there, and that's obviously the most convenient, versus, what would nature have? Nature would, take that road right back. And, you probably wouldn't build it there now, but we have it. So the question comes down to, are we going to preserve it? And Mr. Portley seems to think if it's a town road, then we preserve it. but that to some degree sets a precedent for every other town road that we have, you know?
Right, our plan of coastal resilience discusses.
Well, I
abandoned
don't agree
roads.
with the precedent thing. I
Okay.
agree with everything you said, but I think each one has got to be taken on its own merit.
That's not what Mr. Portley said. He
You
said
know.
if it's a town road, then we're going to maintain it.
Well, that's, I think, a duty of the town.
There you go.
But it doesn't mean it's a precedent that's set.
Right, but our job is to sort of reconcile what the town wants to do with our plan of coastal resilience. And also, you know, an eye towards the future where, you know, this may delay things. I'm not convinced that putting riprap, destroying the beach and putting riprap in front of the wall is going to have a long-term being 20 years, preservation of the wall. I think that nature, if some of the projections for coastal tide rise are true, if some of them are.
I think that the town engineer found that putting those big rocks and the riprap and everything in front of it has worked in other places. The town engineer has looked into this extensively, I'm sure. He does not want to lose our beach, but he's thinking of the safety of the people in this town and the elderly people that need to be able to access that road. And if you have been down there, and I have been down there in the storms, and it's really bad, and it tears up that whole road.
So
If you lose that road, you got a problem.
If you were going to exit out during a storm, would you go out that road?
If there was no other way.
No, but if...
Let me explain to you.
Okay.
If there's no other way, and the other way is, one of them is, on 146 to go under that bridge. If you're getting storms like we've been getting, you're not going under that bridge unless you're going to swim, okay? You can't go that way. So you need that road as an access, one of two. There's only one other way to go.
You are going to go at Vineyard Point, where you go out?
And that also has got some serious problems if we get high water. So whatever way we can go, we got to have an access for. And I think that Jim Portley's idea of what to do with this is definitely the way to go. We can go into this and say there's 100 different, we can look at this for another 5 years. We can't wait another 5 years. We don't know when the next storm is going to come.
And ultimately, the Sagem's Head zoning agreed to it.
The head of the Sagem's Head zoning.
Did they have a meeting, or did just the chairman say, all right, you know what, go ahead?
I don't know, I'm not privy to that, but what the engineers testified to on camera was that they okayed it. So, all right.
I think it's very important that we do this.
I got some, we're also in a situation where one solution here is move the road, and that gets into buying property or how do you gain that property? Do you call eminent domain? So you don't want to even go there. I was involved in public works during Irene and Sandy, and things had to be done fast. You had a whole section of the town cut off, as Alan was saying. These guys know what they're doing.
Yeah.
George, what happens if this gets denied? Will they come back with a plan B, or are they going to let this sit? Like, what's the hubbub around the office?
There really isn't any. I mean, the two things that I heard, I mean, we rely on Kevin as sort of the environmental protector and the expert on coastal resilience from the environmental protection point of view. And we also rely on DEP to do that. Kevin didn't express any objection to this plan. He's certainly very familiar with it. I know he's worked with and talked to Portley quite a bit. And DEP still has jurisdiction over whether to grant this approval or not. Regardless of what we do. I mean, assuming planning and zoning approves it, it cannot be constructed without DEP approval. So there still is that step, and hopefully they'll be looking at these issues as well. I think, I'm not sure, I don't recall exactly what Portley said about Sagem's Head Association. My assumption is, or I thought I heard him say that Sagem's Head Association approved this. Now, I don't know whether that's actually the case.
I thought he said
he spoke to the chairman.
He spoke to the chairman, and the chairman said it was okay with him.
Chairman of the Sagem's Head Association? Okay.
Well, I thought it was more of a courtesy, like, hey, we're gonna do this, let me know if there's a problem.
But if there's a process, they should probably run through it there.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean that if we approve it, that they're not going to give a cease and desist to them and say, well, you have to run through us now. I mean, I guess the reason why I'm probably gonna vote in favor of it is because we have Kevin, our environmental planner, saying it's okay, and we have the engineer saying that this is the best practice, and I'm not better than either one of them.
And there might be a better solution somewhere down the road, but are we going to sit and wait 5 years and, whatever it is, this, like I said, and we have professionals that,
I think
do that. That's my opinion.
I think we actively need to be working towards getting better practices for these situations, so.
It's gonna come up more and more.
Yeah, it is, it really is.
Well, we're facing, in a couple of years, we read another plan of conservation and development, that can be specified in there.
All right, well, any other comments? So we got a motion on the table, a second, I'll call the vote, all in favor? All opposed? One, and any abstaining? Motion carries. All right, let's move on to Tank Works.
I'll make a motion, voted that the Guilford Planning and Zoning Commission approve a coastal area management application for tank works removal and replacement of LLC at 71 Waterside Drive, map 8, lot 54, as shown on application dated September 2017. This application is approved, well, I don't know what the date of the,
September.
but what, okay, fine. This application is approved with the following conditions. First, well, I'll just say the conditions as outlined in Kevin McGee's November 15th letter. This application is approved based upon a finding that conforms with the zoning code and is consistent with the coastal management policies of the state of Connecticut.
Second. Discussion?
Do we have any concern that this tank leaked or not? It's not our business.
Well, I mean, Kevin
You
says
don't know
that,
till the Yankees
yeah,
said
if
anyway.
contaminated soil is to be removed, sedimentation and erosion control measures shall be installed around the work area, and the town of Guilford zoning enforcement officer should be notified to inspect that. So,
Basically what they do is they pull it out, if it's leaking, they
it gets a
clean
lot
it
more
to the water
expensive
table,
to
and
clean
then
it out.
that's it.
Plus, they gotta truck out all the material that's
Right.
passed.
Right.
It cannot be left on site.
Reputable company doing it, so.
That is a good idea to get them out like that.
Yeah, it is.
Get it now before it gets too cold.
Exactly. Okay, we had a motion. Any other discussion? Call the vote. All in favor? Any against? Any abstain? All right. Where are we? Site plans. Andrew Adjemi. Say that right? Come on up. Name and address for the record, sir.
Patience, by the way, thank you.
This isn't the worst meeting. This isn't
bad. That's not 1 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, it's not bad. Could be worse. Pretty good.
Good evening, just for your record, I'm Mike Ott, I'm a professional engineer and land surveyor with Summerhill Civil Engineers and Land Surveyors in Madison. And I'm here tonight on behalf of Andrew Adjemi, who is the purchaser of this property. This is the former Wire Journal property at 1570 Boston Post Road. And the application is for the construction of a new driveway to serve the existing developed site. The current driveway that has served this site for decades, I understand, is actually not on the Wire Journal's land. It's on the adjoining property within an easement in favor of the Wire Journal parcel. The owner of the land that the driveway is on doesn't wish, now that this sale is happening, doesn't wish to continue that arrangement and has asked the new owner, given him some time, to design and get approved his own driveway on the former Wire Journal property. So that's why we're here tonight. We have made an application to your Wetlands Commission. The commission walked it on the 4th and approved it last Wednesday evening, Reggie, I think.
Yes, they did.
So the driveway meets your zoning regulations, your driveway standards for horizontal curvature and maximum grade. I think it's fairly straightforward. It's no steeper than the existing driveway, and the curve in the driveway is just a little bit better than the curve that is there today. Somebody, one of your fire marshals, Mike, I forget his last name, we had a staff meeting, and he took a look at that with regard to fire apparatus and the ability to access, get up the driveway to the building. He didn't. He thought it was okay when I spoke with him.
It was also reviewed by the Design Review Committee, and did they make some landscaping suggestions?
Thank you. I forgot, George. They did. They actually said when we're going to have to come, the owner will have to come back for his sign to change the sign out front, and I think the comment was, we'll get you then, I think was the comment.
Right.
So, not to belabor anything, make this meeting go on longer, but, and I know it's the applicant's choice, but an easement goes with the land, so in essence, they could have just said no, right?
It has the period of time when the easement lapses, which is just a couple of years down the road, right?
Right. I don't know all the details, but apparently the owner of that adjoining land has the legal right to say, we're going to end this arrangement and you need your own driveway. So that's why we're doing this.
This has been reviewed by the DOT, and they like it as well, as I understand it?
It has, thank you, George. It has been reviewed and approved by the DOT. You should have, I think Reggie received a copy of the approval letter. It should be in the town's files.
The applicant's happy with it, the adjoining neighbor's happy with it, the town's happy with it.
Design Review's going to be happy.
Design Review's happy with it. Frank's happy with it.
All right, so why don't you do something then?
I'll make a motion, voted that the Guilford Planning and Zoning Commission approve a site plan application for Andrew Agme, 1570 Boston Post Road, map 52, lot 1316, to construct a new driveway shown on a driveway plan and profile land of the Wire Journal, Inc., dated 8/1/17, revised 9/29/17, prepared by Summer Hill Civil Engineers and Land Surveyors. This application is approved based upon a finding that conforms with the zoning code.
Second?
Okay, straightforward, we talked about it. No other discussion or any other discussion? Okay, I'll call the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed or abstained? No, unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, have a good day.
Good work. We are on Rick Maynard, Peddlers Park. It's to receive and set a public hearing at the request of the applicant for 12/6/17.
Applicant did request 12/6. Lisa pointed out that we have quite a large number of hearings set already for 12/6. On the one hand, I'm reluctant to suggest 12/20 because I don't know if the applicant is good with that date.
Well, we could.
So I
can
would
make that
go
our
ahead.
decision, though, right?
Yeah, you can make the decision, or you can set it for 12/6, and we can sort of tentatively plan on doing it 12/20 and continue it again.
I think it's 12/20.
Still be a public hearing though, right?
Yeah.
Like,
This is
the
not a
public will comment, it's not just a site plan revision?
It is a site plan revision. It doesn't actually require a public hearing.
But we're saying public hearing.
The applicant has requested a public
Right, so
hearing
there's
in
gonna
the
be public
interest of
comment.
making it all transparent. Now, it does raise some issues about, okay, so you have a public hearing and people say they don't like it. Does it comply with the zoning regulations is a question for you. If they don't like it, they should go to the Park and Rec Commission and tell them, tell the town, don't build this thing. So there's some.
Do we have the power to say no?
Somewhat of a change of use though, isn't it?
We have the power to say no if it doesn't conform with our regulations, right?
Grounds for it, right. You can't say no because you don't think the town should have a, Frisbee golf course. The Park and Rec Commission's already said that they think we should have a Frisbee golf course, and they want it to be here.
So what grounds would we say we wouldn't?
Well, I don't know.
Would it be traffic, noise, lights
Traffic,
at night,
noise, adverse impact on whatever.
Just get some research.
Yeah.
Now, what do you make of Commissioner Corbiere's statement that the Board of Selectmen should approve this before we consider it?
That's a good question. My understanding is that the Park and Rec Commission has the authority to make such an application on behalf of the town. Now, whether maybe that's actually true, I don't know.
Should we get legal counsel?
We can ask,
How about we just ask
council
Board of
to
Selectmen?
do that. We can do that,
Maybe we can get an opinion from the Board of Selectmen?
whether it requires their approval or not. Yeah.
Okay.
We can do that.
Well, we have more time now because we're kicking it 12:20.
Which will be a new.
And there'll be a new
And
Board
for
of
all we
Selectmen.
know, he might say he can't do it, so it'll be
Then it'll be
January.
withdrawn.
January something.
Okay. Everybody's cool with that?
Snow flies.
So you're saying public hearing for 12. We'll ask town council to look at the issue of who actually can authorize this application.
And then, right, Board of Selectmen, actually.
Right.
Okay. I'm good with that. All in favor? Aye. Thank you very much. Special permit, let's keep going. So Brenda Gorman, 90 Willows, that's receive and set.
Public hearing date.
Second?
For 12:06 and continue 12:20.
Good?
Yeah.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. We have a approval of the 2018 Fairgrounds event calendar.
Yeah. You know my concern.
Okay, so, you know, we had asked them to come forward and present all of their events, so we knew about them. To my knowledge, they've been doing that. I understand that there was a little bit of issues on one of the events.
Lisa just told me that there are 3 less events than normal on there.
So my concern is that we don't have any feedback from staff or whatever, but I remember reading in the paper that the police had to go down there and quiet down one of their events because it was going on till 11 o'clock at night. And the story in the paper, and I don't know if it's true, it's just what I read in the paper, is that the people who were doing the show were not the fairground people, it was the actual like DJ or something like that. He said he didn't know that there's any regulations regarding the sound, but police persuaded him to turn the noise down. And so my concern is, we say yes to these things, and it doesn't really resolve the issue that caused us to start taking control of it, which is that they get carried away and the neighbors get upset.
I'm not sure of the specific incident you're talking about, but for all of these events, if they do have music or other loud sound, they do have to go to the Board of Selectmen for the permit to exceed whatever the level is for having outdoor music and so forth. So any event, maybe this event that you are alluding to, didn't have the proper permit from the Board of Selectmen to exempt from the noise ordinance? Because there is a noise ordinance that says you're only allowed to have so much sound. Any kind of outdoor event that has music has to get a permit, essentially an exemption from the Board of Selectmen from that noise level. And then the Board of Selectmen can set certain standards, like the event has to be over at a certain hour or whatever. So maybe this event either didn't get that permit or exceeded whatever the standard was that the Board of Selectmen said for it. Is that possible?
Maybe. So,
I don't know the
this was supposed to be
particulars.
an intermediary resolution to them working on some sort of an agreement with their lawyer and the lawyer for the neighbors. Has that ever proceeded in any meaningful way?
Not that I know.
We have no knowledge of that.
So we're kind of operating in the dark here because we don't know, we're just saying yes to everything. And we don't really know.
Well, you're checking to make sure that these are nonprofits that are,
How do I know that from this? You know, they're going to say that it benefits them and they're a 501(c)(3).
well, the fireworks,
The firework, again, that's the one thing,
Lobster
and the fair. None of us are talking about that.
Earth
But
Day.
it's all about Dogs Follows Puppy Up, and then Purple Flags Day, and Run
Time
for the
Machine
Cove.
Car Show is a not-for-profit?
But that's specifically allowed by the 1988 agreement.
Well, we can
Hank
look at
Graber.
all these more carefully. All we did in the special permit application was require that they give us their schedule and then also set a time frame for a certain number of days prior to an event. If they wanted something extra, they had to come to us. They still have to comply with all the other town ordinances, most importantly, the noise ordinance.
Right. So if that's not happening, we don't know about that here. None of us know that.
If that's up to the Board of Selectmen and the police, if that's not happening.
That's the purpose of this, though, is to respond to their not being able to control themselves.
Right, and then the question is how do we know?
We have no feedback.
Right, so I think neighbors who were here at that meeting when we decided to do this, who were in opposition of some of the events or wanted to see the schedule, they asked, and I believe we were clearly, said to them that you can call Reggie or, whoever in the town and let them know if there's things that are going on, because like you said, we're not there.
We're not getting
Or we could show up at each of these events. We have the calendar.
Well, I don't think we're getting any complaints in our.
So the neighbors aren't complaining at all?
Not that I know, not that
We
I'm
know,
aware of.
it's,
Well, they
No, we're not.
it's not like the
But
rent.
that was one incident out of 18.
To the zoning enforcement, they certainly know how to get here.
They were in residence for.
Right, that was the biggest complaint, and that was gone.
That was, yeah.
So I think-
I mean, some of these are like a GHS alumni race. That's during the day in the morning, probably. Same thing with the Crohn's and Colitis.
The Cove Walk.
Run for the Cove. APK Charities. They just had a run. I
These
mean,
are
that's,
road
these are road races in the morning.
We're not getting any complaints in our.
I think it's, other than the one that you've heard of, I think it's turned a corner that's better than it was.
And if we do get complaints, I'm sure you'll bring them to our attention. Great.
I mean, I've asked George and Reggie to, let me know, and I was gonna bring up the commission if I did hear any complaints, so I don't think anybody says called and complained, but like I said, you read one in the paper, but 1 out of 18, maybe, but like I said, we can take a look, but
And do
I'm okay.
we know that all these benefit a 501(c)(3), or is it just that it benefits they pay rent to the Ag Commission and it goes into their fund and they're a 501(c)(3)?
Well, the Sea Lights is a run.
Right. And double check all of them.
Yeah, because they are supposed to,
And
the people with the event are supposed to give the Ag Society their 501c forms, and we could probably get a copy of those. I don't think that's too much of that.
Just a good thing to check.
Right, absolutely. And I think I said that in the, couple times.
So then we should wait till we see that before, right?
I would hope so.
Okay.
Good.
Well, I would say we can approve it, just make sure we have copies of all the 501c3 certificates.
You don't want to get them first?
I think we can put that out.
It's not like any of these
If
are
you
real
could report
close.
back on that,
We
just
will.
say,
We will.
check, not
Yeah.
check.
Because if one of these is not a 501c3, we can say that it doesn't comply and they
Right,
can't
and
do
we'll
it, even if we approve.
Cancel it, say, sorry, no
We
dice.
said yes, but now we say no.
Right, because you're not
You're
compliant.
not compliant.
Very simple.
The bottom line is we're really not having any problem that we're aware of.
Right.
I'm trying to stay ahead.
Right.
All right, so we gotta, it's gotta be a motion for that anyway,
Motion
right?
approved?
Second.
All in favor? Any abstain? Any noes? Okay, one abstention. All right, that's it. We got some minutes to approve. Anybody?
I have one to approve.
There's one correction.
What do you got?
The wrong Richard is in there is calling for the closing of the meeting.
It's my job usually. Which, by the way, is going to be over within a couple of months. Going to have to find some new ones to do this. And
So-
also you have with that.
We have a motion. Do we have a, second, all in favor?
Aye. And then
Okay.
you have an announcement?
Yes, before we do any kind of, wait a minute, do we have to approve bills or anything? I missed it.
We did the town business for free.
Okay, we did it for free. So, Reggie, you have something you want to tell us?
Here it
And,
is.
camera?
I
Name and
do.
address for the,
Reggie Reed, 419 Whitfield Street. I am going to retire from my job.
When is it going to take place?
Well, my last meeting with you will be December 20th. My last day in the office will be December 29th. And
Happy New Year.
How long has it been?
20 years.
20 years. My
20 years of employment with the town of Guilford. I just want to say, I have enjoyed working for you immensely. I've met lots of people, nice people, and I, for the most part, have gotten very good cooperation. As you know, when I didn't, I'd come to you and say, can I start fining? I have really enjoyed this position, a lot. And I thought long and hard before I decided I was going to retire. But it's time for me to move on, and I just want to thank you for the opportunity that you gave me and for the support that this commission has given me over the years. Thank you.
Well, enjoy your retirement.
Reggie, for myself and also for the commission a little bit too, thank you because you've done an excellent job. At times it's been challenging and I know that sometimes, it's like banging your head on a cement wall. But you've handled it all admirably and I'm proud to have served with you. You did a great job. So thank you.
And it's not an easy job.
and it's going to be It's bittersweet because I'm sure you're going to be enjoying traveling and all kinds of fun stuff now.
absolutely will.
But you're going to be very hard to replace. And it's
Oh,
been a
that's
pleasure because, like I
nice
said,
of you
somebody
to
has
say.
your kind of knowledge, and it's just nice to know that that was on our side for so long. So thank you.
Well, I just thank you
And
so
I got
much
to witness
for
you
the
from
support.
both sides, as an applicant and then as a commissioner. So it's been fun. Since
Thank
I was,
you.
I think my first one was probably 15 or 16
Yeah.
in front of you. So
You got a fruit tree? It's
Huh?
crazy.
It's probably a zoning violation. of some
it was.
kind.
It absolutely was. Variance.
Well, actually, you know,
Signs.
that's how
I've been working
that's how I
on
met Reggie too. She came to handle a violation on my property, so I started my public career based on her coming to visit me.
Thank you very much for your service. It was
Oh,
amazing.
thank you.
You're
We
going to
hope
be
you, and
missed.
we definitely hope you enjoy it. You will be missed.
You're going to be generally missed.
Motion to adjourn.
Thank you.
Second.
All in favor? Thank you, guys. Rich, you putting in your application?